The title of this video is true. Most people think write-offs are about saving receipts, but the wealthy do way more than that. They even turn everyday expenses into legal tax deductions. Today, I'm going to show you how to turn things you're already doing into write-offs that legally reduce your tax bill. Because once you understand the rules, you'll never look at expenses the same way. So look, the IRS doesn't really care what you spend your money on. What it cares is why you spend that money. See, if your expense has a business purpose, it's ordinary and necessary, and you document it, it becomes deductible. That's the foundation of everything we're going to talk about in this video. So once again, I want to go through this, and I'm going to show this on my whiteboard because I want you to get these principles down really clear in your mind so that every day when you're spending money, you know, okay, wait a minute, does it meet these 4 tests? So here's the 4 tests. First test is business purpose. What is a business purpose? A business purpose means the reason you're doing it is business. It's just the reason you're doing it. So that's the business purpose. Number 2, it's ordinary. Now, what does ordinary mean? The way I look at it, ordinary means typical. It's typical to amount and frequency. That's typical. Number 3, it's necessary. Now, this is my favorite requirement. Yeah, I do have a favorite requirement, and that is necessary means it's profitable. I think this is one of the areas that makes the tax law such a great roadmap for building wealth is if everything you did had a business purpose, was ordinary, was necessary, profitable, and documented, you would make more money in your business. You would make more money in your real estate. You'd make more money in your investing. See, all of these are required. Now, the first thing, of course, you have to have a business. So if you don't have a business, and real estate, investing in long-term real estate is a business. Airbnb is a business. Fix and flipping real estate is a business. These are all businesses, okay? You have to have a business first. That's rule number 1. Then you have to meet these 4 tests. Okay, so let me give you some simple examples of trading these in. So let's take our home office. This is the most maligned of all deductions. And I think it's just because of ignorance. Here you have your home, and what's in that home? What kinds of expenses do you have here? Well, you have a lot of expenses. You have, of course, you have interest and taxes. You're going, well, those may be deductible anyway. Maybe, as long as you exceed your standard deduction. Then you have maintenance, right? Maintenance is a big one. Cleaning, you have utilities, including your internet. And of course, a big one that people don't even think about is you have depreciation, wear and tear on it, and not just on the house, but on things inside it. Okay, so could you actually do a cost segregation for a home office? Yeah, you could. You have depreciation, you might have repairs. I mean, you just have a lot going on here. That's a lot of your expenses during the year. It adds up. I mean, that's tens of thousands of dollars for most people. All right, now, I'm saying, hey, I'd like to take a percentage of that. Let's say that adds up to $50,000. Now I'm going to take a percentage of it. I'm going, what percentage am I going to take? Well, I have 3 choices. I can take the IRS standard choice, which don't do that. That's for lazy people. Or I could take square footage, or I could take number of rooms. I find that for most people, number of rooms is better. So let's say I have 10 rooms, not counting bathrooms or hallways, of course, but 10 regular rooms, and I take 1. So that means I'd have 1 out of 10. And that means that of that $50,000, 1/10 times or 10%. So that means I get a tax deduction of $5,000. And some people are going, oh, that's a lot of work just for a $5,000 deduction. Really? Okay, well, let me tell you what else this does for you. Let's say that you have a car that you use in your business. Remember that the first time you drive during the day, that first drive, or a customer say, that's a commute. And then your last drive home from your last customer or from an office, that's also a commute. These are commutes. Commutes are not deductible, so they're not business expense. They're personal. However, what if instead, you're over here at your kitchen table, and then over here you have your home office. And what if your commute is from here to here, 30 feet? And first thing in the morning, you do your office work, and then you go to the customer. When you come home, you come back to your home office, do your office work, go back to your kitchen. Now this is not a commute. Now this is business. So you could easily double your automobile deduction. This is a really good example of all you want to do is change your facts, and you can change your tax. You're not spending more money. What you're doing is you're changing the nature of what you do and how you track it. And because of that, you're getting deductions. So that $5,000, that may be your home office, but you might have another $10,000 of additional car deduction. Now you've got $15,000 more simply because you had a home office. Well, now we're starting to talk about some real money. I mean, at a 33% tax rate, that's $5,000. I don't know about you, but I could use another $5,000. So that's a perfect example. What's another one? Well, what about business meals? So meals is one where I love this because I like having meals with clients. I like having meals with my spouse going out. It doesn't just have to be clients. Remember, let's say that you go out with your spouse once a week, and I guarantee you, if you're an entrepreneur, you talk about business. Well, you have to meet the tests. Business purpose, yes. I'm going to talk about the work week. I'm going to talk about what's going on at the business. I have a setting that's conducive, yes. Okay, basically I meet all the who, what, when, where, and why. Is it profitable? Absolutely. I find those discussions with my spouse some of the most profitable discussions I ever have. So there's a good example, meals. What's another one? Travel. I don't always make my travel deductible, but I'll tell you what, if my plan is to do any kind of business, I want to make it my primary purpose. So in travel, it has to be a primary purpose. Typically that's 4.5 hours in a workday out of 8 hours is primary purpose, but it has to be a primary purpose. And it can't just be carrying your laptop with you. Okay. There's got to be a reason you're going to that place, a business reason for it, but it does have to be a primary purpose. Education. Now, the IRS hates seminars. They're fine with continuing education. Subscriptions, software. You get software for your business. Any of your office supplies for your home office, your office equipment for your home office equipment and supplies. Now, just remember in your home office, it has to be only used for your home office, okay? That's important. But these are just simple examples. So you're already spending this money. Unless you structure it right and document it right, it's personal and not deductible. So let's take the client meals. You get 50%. As long as business is discussed, you're part of the business, and the meal can't be lavish. Remember, it has to be ordinary. Travel, primary purpose, has to be business. Entertainment expenses are not deductible. However, if you separately state the meals, they are deductible. And an important change in 2026 is meals provided to employees like break room snacks, overtime meals are now 0% deductible. Okay, that's beginning January 1st, 2026. So don't forget that. Remember, document who, what, when, where, and why. Preferably use a business credit card, and that is for your business entity. It's just the easiest way. Don't commingle funds. If you have to use your personal credit card, submit an expense report. I submit an expense report to my business every month because I do use my personal credit card. It's okay to use your personal credit card. Just submit an expense report every month and get reimbursed. Now, make sure that you structure on your business trips, structure your day around the business meetings. When I was a local president of the Tax Executives Institute, which is the industry tax group, for big companies, I remember going to the annual tax executive or TEI conferences, and their meetings always start at 8 o'clock in the morning and they always ended at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They were always in a nice place like Manhattan, downtown Manhattan, or Florida or California, someplace where you'd want to go. And so by 1 o'clock you were done. You'd done all your business training, and then the rest of the day you had on your own. I do conferences for CPAs and entrepreneurs. And when I structure them around a weekend so that you can have the weekend. Weekend isn't business time anyway. So if I go, I've got, especially if I can straddle the weekend, let's say I've got a conference on Friday and Monday, I can spend Saturday and Sunday doing whatever I want because those are not business days anyway. My primary purpose is still business. Again, remember, home office doesn't have to be huge. It does have to be used solely for business. And by the way, you can have a home office and an outside office as long as your home office is your primary office. So your home office is the office where you do all of your administrative work and all your management. You might go to your business office to meet with customers. You might go there to meet with employees, but you do your work on the business as the business owner from your home office. So it doesn't have to be where you meet your clients. That's just a really important thing. And remember, it unlocks a portion of your rent, your utilities, your internet, your insurance, your repairs. Now, W-2 employees don't get a home office deduction. It's only business owners. who get a home office deduction. And real estate investors, by the way, also get a home office deduction. Your automobile, see, again, is a great deduction, which you multiply with a home office. And remember, you get a choice. If your automobile is used for more than 50% for business, which if you have a home office, it will be likely, then you can take the greater of your actual expenses times your business use or your mileage. Let me give you an example of this. Let's say you've got a lease on the car, and the lease is $1,000 a month. So you pay $12,000 for the lease. Let's say you spend another $3,000 for fuel. Let's say you've got $1,000 because you wash it every month and you make sure it's washed well. So you got cleaning, you've got maybe another $2,000 of maintenance, right, to maintain it. And that includes tires and, oil changes, etc. So that's $15,000, $16,000, $18,000, okay? Now, let's say you drive at 8,000 miles a year for business and 4,000 miles personal. So what does that mean? Well, that means that this is 2/3, right? So the total of 12,000 miles, 8,000 divided by 12,000, it's 2/3. So I get 2/3 of this and I get a $12,000 deduction. Now let's just say I use the mileage rate. I can tell you right now, mileage rate is under $1. So let's say the mileage rate is 70 cents a mile. I'd only get $5,600 as a deduction versus 12,000. I'd rather have the 12,000. On the other hand, let's say I drive at 40,000 miles for business. Now at 70 cents, now I'm $28,000. Now I'm going to take the mileage deduction instead of the actual expense. So you don't need to cheat. You just need to track it, and you can deduct thousands every year. You just document everything. It's not that hard. So you just saw how to say thousands with home office and mileage, but most people are still missing 20 to 30% across every other category. That's why I put together a free playbook that shows you how to cut taxes by up to 20 to 30% legally. The link is down below in the description. All right, let's look at education for a minute. You can deduct courses, books, newsletters, events, coaching, all of those, as long as they are for your business that you're already operating, but they have to be directly related. There has to be a business purpose, ordinary, necessary, and documented. See, if you're learning how to grow your business, then you are doing something that is profitable. You're spending money on something that's profitable. Now, I'll give you an example. The money you spend with your CPA to reduce taxes on your business income, that's deductible. So as long as they're ordinary and necessary, documented, and have that business purpose, the IRS wants you to deduct it. You just document the purpose and pay for it, preferably through your entity. Now, here's another one that people miss, and that is they forget that their kids can be assets, right? When we were farmers, all farmers back in the 1800s, kids were assets. You wanted more kids because you needed the field hands, right? Now, kids frequently are liabilities. They just cost you out of pocket. Why not turn them back into assets? Well, the way to do that is through the tax law. Now, they have the same standard deduction you have for earned income. So you have a $15,000 standard deduction. They have a $15,000 standard deduction. So what that means is, what if you were to pay them to work in your business, legitimately work in your business? What are some things your kids could do to work in your business? The very first thing that comes to most people's mind is marketing, social media. Definitely. Could kids do that? Yes. I have clients whose kids do their good bookkeeping. They can do that. They do maintenance on their properties or their office. You just have to pay them. It has to be a reasonable salary, and you have to treat them as employees. You must treat them just like a normal employee. But guess what? And you've got to be compliant with your local labor law. Most states, you're allowed to employ your own kids regardless of age. Now, if you do this, does this mean family vacations are deductible? No. But they could be, if your kids are involved in, for example, searching for new real estate investments and you take them with you to go search for new real estate investments in a new area, absolutely, that can be deductible. Again, the work has to be real, the salary must be reasonable, and the documentation has to work. But let's talk about some other lifestyle structuring. Let's say you're hosting a business retreat. Well, we have what's called the Augusta Rule. And the Augusta Rule means you could rent your house out for up to 14 days, so less than 15 days, and you get a deduction. Basically, your business pays you or for use of the home. Now, you actually have to do it. You have to actually have your home available for everybody. They have to be there. It's got to be a reasonable rate, everything. We're going to do everything right here. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago when the Super Bowl was in Arizona, Rihanna, the singer, was the halftime show. And she rented a house, I think for 12 days and paid $800,000 for rent. Well, the person who rented their house out to Rihanna, that $800,000, non-taxable. So it's a very cool rule. So again, these are lifestyle. Just leave town for 14 days and rent out your house. What about if you have a phone? Now, here's something that most people don't know, is that if you use a phone for business, it's your business, and the business buys the phone, you don't have to allocate between business and personal. As long as your primary purpose is business, you can use it for personal, and there's no allocation. You don't have to pay tax on the personal portion. It's just too hard to track, and the IRS has given in on that. So again, internet, utilities, furniture can be partially written off through a home office, through the proper structure. I'm going to put this a different way. Don't get write-offs by spending more money. I think that's a dumb idea. Get them by reframing what you are already spending money on through a business lens, through IRS rules, but it has to be documented, has to be legitimate. Look, the tax law is a series of incentives, and it rewards people who build businesses and create value for other people. The average person pays a lot of tax on their lifestyle. Remember, if you save it or you spend it on your personal stuff, it's taxable. The wealthy, a lot of times, they'll just structure their lifestyle around their business. If you want to see how this strategy scales even further, go watch the video on the screen. Robert Kiyosaki is $1.2 billion in debt. Here's why. Because the goal is to not avoid tax, is to build wealth legally and deduct everything you can along the way. Watch that next.